When I discovered copywriting, I almost didn't believe that it was like a thing. I almost didn't believe that people wrote this stuff like ads, marketing, whatever, and got paid for it, even got paid really well for it. I did hear that some people did it, of course, but I especially didn't believe this whole story that I was hearing about freelancers, like these people who got paid to write that had all the freedom of not actually having a boss. Like, yeah, they had clients that they had to answer to, but they could go from client to client and work with different clients. So they had all that freedom. They had the freedom to work from wherever they wanted and the freedom to control their schedule. So only work like part-time and all of that. And it completely just it was out of my context, out of my stories of how I believe the world worked. And so it was hard for me to believe. And then something suddenly happened where I was able to believe that I am a copywriter. So I want to talk about this identity shift and becoming a copywriter in today's episode. These are the proven direct response marketing, copywriting, and entrepreneurship success strategies you can use today to write your own ticket and create the life you want. I am Roy Furr, and this is Breakthrough Marketing Secrets. Now, here's today's breakthrough. So before we dive into that, I do want to tell you today's episode is sponsored by me. Specifically, check out the link in the description to the Copywriter's Guide to Getting Paid. It's now available as an ebook. I had people asking this for a long time. Why don't you just offer a download-only version of it? And in fact, the link in the description takes you to a page that's exclusively for the download version of the Copywriter's Guide to Getting Paid. And hey, it's just $5. It's a great deal, and it will help you with the business side of becoming a copywriter, including becoming a freelancer and making money with your copywriting skills. So I'll finish the story in a minute of that moment where I was suddenly able to believe that, hey, I am a copywriter. But first, I want to talk about the power of an identity shift. Identity is powerful. Who you see yourself as, what you see as your identity, who you believe that you are, determines so much about your life. If you believe you are a failure, you are less likely to try hard. You're less likely to figure things out. You're less likely to persevere in the context of facing hardship. If you believe you are somebody who figures it out, if you believe you are a problem solver, if you believe that you are an achiever in the face of hardship, you will do those things. In fact, I recently heard about something that was going on with the Navy SEALs, and they were trying to be able to recruit a better class of recruits to because the whole process for becoming a Navy SEAL is incredibly grueling, and people drop out consistently throughout the process. And it's because it's one of the most physically difficult jobs that there is in the military, which by itself is very difficult. So they were trying to recruit better recruits that would have less of an attrition rate through the process. And one thing that they discovered that made about a 10% difference, which was tremendous for them. One thing that they discovered was people who were willing to embrace the power of positive thinking and positive self-talk. Like, I can figure this out. I can persevere. I can work through this. I can do it. Those people are more likely to stick with the difficulty of the training process that other people are dropping out of. And so they were believing that they are the type of person that can figure it out. So identity is it's super, super powerful. And like I said, who you see yourself as determines your life. And there's all sorts of backup for this, Robert Dilts has these logical levels, the Dilts logical levels in change work, and there's different levels to it. But basically, everything is supported by your identity. So I have it on my wall here. Things like your beliefs and values, those only exist in the context of your identity. Your capabilities and skills exist in the context of your identity. If you don't believe that you have a capability and a skill, then if like your identity is not someone who is able to do the skill of copywriting, then you're going to struggle. But if your identity is someone who is capable of growing and developing that skill of copywriting, then you are much more likely to succeed when it actually comes time to do the work. And so this identity, shifting your identity and feeling like I am a copywriter, I am somebody who is able to have success as a copywriter, it goes such a long way towards achieving your own success. And in fact, I don't know what you believe about like the law of attraction, manifestation, and all that stuff. I do believe that speaking to your subconscious mind in the way that those the practices that are in that that subject teach you to is incredibly powerful. And one of the major ways that you are taught to speak to yourself and to the universe is through I am affirmations. And so I am, I am this, I am that, I am becoming this, I am achieving this, I am practicing this, I am doing these things. And those I am affirmations are thought to be very powerful. And the reason that they work in a lot of contexts, especially when you're talking about personal growth, not necessarily external, like I'm a lottery winner, but if you're talking about personal growth, then the reason that that's working is because it's helping you define the identity that you desire that is going to lead you to your success. And that identity, once you define that identity, once you shift your identity as represented by the stories you tell yourself about who you are, I am, right? That identity is going to be reflected in your beliefs, in your skills, in your daily behavior. And it is those beliefs and skills and daily behavior that are going to contribute to your success in the field. Which brings me back to this whole identity shift into becoming a copywriter. So when I discovered copywriting, it was like I had this reaction, and maybe this is familiar to you. I know that a lot of other people have had this reaction too, of like, oh, there's no such thing as copywriters. I've never heard of this. Like, there's not copywriter school that you go to in school. Like, there's med school and all these different types of, like, you can get a degree in philosophy, but you can't get a degree in copywriting. Okay, yeah, there's marketing degrees, but it's this kind of, I don't know, it's this outside of the establishment, outside of the institution skill set and job identity, right? And so I believe, like, my belief was there's no such thing as copywriters. And I know it sounds silly, but basically I thought copywriters were kind of this mythical thing. Like, I discovered them. I heard about, I discovered them first through this book called The Well-Fed Writer by Peter Bowerman. And then I started digging deeper. And it still kind of felt like I was reading a storybook about some reality that didn't exist in the same world as I lived in. And even when I got a marketing job and I was doing copywriting, it was still hard for me to believe that there were these people who were copywriters, not like in a business, but out in the freelance world. So I went from this belief of copywriters are a myth to freelancers are a myth, right? I could believe that I was getting paid in part because I was writing copy for the business, but it was hard for me to believe that there were people out there who were working for themselves, working with like freedom of their schedule and time and ability to create this great income through copywriting. And then this is how I truly became a copywriter. This is how I made that identity shift. I started connecting with copywriters, with people who were freelance copywriters. And this was before social media was like super ubiquitous. And there were, I mean, today it's easy. There's like a million copywriter groups on Facebook or LinkedIn, and there's all these different places online to connect with copywriters. But this was like 2005 to 2009 or so. And those things didn't really exist in the same way that they do today. And so my connection with other copywriters was very limited. And I was able to like figure out that, okay, I can reach out to people and say, hey, I'll write this sales letter for you. And if you're interested, here's what my fee is. And so I did have a little bit of limited early success, but then I actually got to meet some copywriters. I went to an event where copywriters were hanging out. People who were full-time freelancers, people who were working with clients, people who were successful, people who had six-figure copywriting businesses, or some of them even more. And suddenly when I was looking around, when I was interacting with these people, when I was really actually connecting with real life copywriters, I no longer believed that it was a myth. I believed that copywriters existed. And if these people could be copywriters, I could be a copywriter too. And I basically, from that point forward, declared that I am a copywriter. And I was able to fully embody that identity. And because success flows from our identity, once I embraced that identity, like I acted like it, and I was able to line up some client work, and I was able to fill up my schedule, and I went freelance, and I built my business from there. And that was in 2010. And like, I fully embraced that identity, and it completely allowed me to step away from this like 40 hours a week working for somebody else in the context of whatever the system allowed for me to do, versus stepping into this space where I was really defining my destiny in the context of being a copywriter and working with clients. And since then, like, my identity has shifted. I've talked in the past about the copywriter entrepreneur. And so your identity can shift from being a copywriter into things that are more along the lines of entrepreneurship, but still informed by the power of your copywriting. I actually just spoke to an entrepreneur last week who really reinforced to me that he spent a couple of years, like he was an entrepreneur, he was in business, he hadn't really studied copywriting, but then he really spent a couple of years really focusing on getting good as a copywriter. And it made him a much better entrepreneur because he understood the power of sales and persuasion multiplied through whatever media we put it in terms of marketing. But back to this, like, becoming a copywriter, being a copywriter. And, you know, people ask like, oh, how do I become a copywriter? How do I become a professional copywriter? And externally, I often point out that it's actually really simple to become a professional copywriter. Externally, what you have to do is you have to write copy and get paid for it. So you write an email. You write a marketing email for a client and they pay you for it. You write a landing page for a client, you write some Facebook ads for a client, you write whatever for a client and they pay you for it. You are a professional copywriter. That's the external stuff. It's a pretty simple action. And if you are not taking that simple action, you are not laying the foundation for the internal beliefs. So you do need to be taking that external action to lay the foundation of belief that allows you to have congruence internally when you say, I am a copywriter. But still doing that, like it was still hard for me to believe that freelance copywriters were like a thing, much less people who made a full-time living or an even better living than I was making in my full-time job as freelance copywriters, as I would eventually shift into within a couple of years of actually within about a year of moving into freelance copywriting. So internally, what's that shit? Like externally, you can be doing that for a long time and still not really believe like I am a copywriter. So if you want to make the internal shift, one of the best things you can do is really like connect with a copywriter, connect with multiple copywriters, surround yourself with copywriters, just connect with people who are doing it, who've done it, who've been there, done that, and who have the absolute conviction that comes from direct experience. And you can realize, you know, you talk to me in person and you're going to realize it's not a myth. Like this is how I've made my living since I quit my last full-time job on February 11th of 2010. Like this has consistently been how I have made my living, had my success as an entrepreneur and in my career. If you are struggling with making this internal shift, there is one thing that I would recommend, and this is something that I practice pretty much daily. I practice journaling, and I practice basically identity shifting through journaling. And I recently did a video about this, basically focusing on growth affirmations. And the growth affirmations, instead of saying like, I am a lottery winner, and then going to buy a lottery ticket and hoping it wins. Saying, I am becoming, I am growing into, it's an active process, right? And it's internal. So I am becoming the person that I need to be in order to have success as a freelance copywriter. I am growing my copywriting skills to the level where clients will eagerly hire me and pay me top dollar in order to create marketing assets for them that will indeed be an excellent investment for their business and generate massive profits for them. I am becoming the type of marketer and copywriter who understands what it takes to get leads, customers, sales, and profits by putting words on page or words in media and showing them to my audience such that they respond and are happy to give money to my clients for their products and services. So these affirmations that are very focused on becoming something, becoming who you want to be, are a very active thing. And it is very easy for your brain to latch onto that and adopt the identity that follows that I am statement, the I am becoming statement. And so if you are struggling with this internal transformation, like you could go out on Upwork and you could charge somebody $10 to write a marketing email for them. And you have done the external thing to be a professional copywriter, meaning you got paid to write copy. Hopefully you're going to start charging more for that very quickly, but you have done that thing where you wrote copy and got paid for it. But this internal transformation, number one, again, connect with other copywriters, connect with people who are already doing it if possible. And number two, work on the internal stories that you tell yourself about who you are, what your identity is. And if you want to become a copywriter, you have to become a copywriter. And that's an internal shift of identity into that person who does those things that are representative of what that identity is. And so I would encourage you to dive into that if this is something that you are looking to do. And if you want to learn more about the business side of having success as a copywriter, my book, The Copywriter's Guide to Getting Paid, which you can get as an ebook for just $5, is at copywritersguide.com. The link is in the description. You can check that out there. It's Copywriter's Guide to Getting Paid at copywritersguide.com. And it goes into not the skill of copywriting, but all of the business stuff that you need to know to have success in the career and business of copywriting, how to turn your copywriting skills into money in the bank. I'm Roy Furr. This is Breakthrough Marketing Secrets. Every episode, I'm here every day, sharing with you ideas to help you grow your marketing genius, one episode at a time. And I believe that this identity shift thing is way bigger than marketing genius, and it has applications that will certainly help you grow your marketing genius. So dive into that and tell me who you are becoming. I'll catch you again in the next episode. I'll see you soon. Thank you once again for tuning in to this daily episode of Breakthrough Marketing Secrets. Remember, check out the links with this episode for even more value. Now make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe, and engage in every way you can to keep this show going and growing and delivering daily value to you. I'll catch you soon for your next big breakthrough.